Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're seeing this. Sneaking a drink of coffee before I get started because we are on secret number 17. Secret number 17 is the perfect webinar model. The model and the framework for how we actually deliver the presentation that we've been working so hard on. I'm going to use my magnifying glass and read some of the highlights of this, or just point out some of the real key highlights of this section. I'm going to encourage you, I'm not going to encourage you, I'm going to say go read this. It starts on page 215, and there's actually a model, a diagram. I love pictures and diagrams. Yep, got to have them. Remember Expert Secrets book? We all know that we're almost to the end of this book. Page 221 has actually the perfect webinar funnel modeled and drawn out. So all the steps that we're talking about, there's 7 steps, are showed pictorially. Sorry about that. We always know what time of day it is because I've got alarms going off. Okay, so there's 7 steps, and we're going to go quickly and briefly through each of these, but it's going to take you more than one day to actually implement and put all of these in place. I think the first time I went through this process, it probably took me, okay, I'm going to say about a month to actually create the funnel in ClickFunnels and to map all the parts out, put all the pieces together, get all the moving things together, and get it set up. But I'm going to give you a share funnel so that you don't have to do all that hard figuring it out yourself. You can just jump right in, customize the funnel, and I'll probably do a demonstration, a live demo walkthrough of how to customize that and I'll do it on what I'm doing right now as I'm going through the book. I'll do that and I'll customize that for you so you can actually stop that video and go step by step by step of how you get that funnel set up so that it works perfectly for you. And all of the components that I'm going to talk about here will be included in that funnel. So you'll just have to customize them for you. You're going to have to make some videos. If you decide to use videos on your not on your registration page, on your thank you page and on your indoctrination series. I do a series of 3 short videos to just build curiosity for each of the 3 secrets as a drip type campaign to encourage people to attend the live webinar. And they're super short and they're super simple and they're very curiosity based. I say the name of the secret and then I ask a question or point out something intriguing to encourage them to be on the live webinar. Because I want to get as many people on there live as I possibly can. So let's talk about the 7 steps quickly. And on page 217 actually maps out again in another diagram how you would repeat this. And Russell recommends that you do your webinar live every single week until you're getting excellent results and consistent results. And when you are, then you can automate it. But until then, you deliver it every single week till you perfect it. And then when you get the perfect one, you record it. But only after you've done it lots of times. He actually did the Funnel Hacks webinar 70 some times. And sometimes more than once a day. But like 70 times he did that webinar before he automated it. So I think if the master does it that way, there's a lot that we can learn from that. People want to jump to automating their webinar before it's ready. And if you automate it before it's ready, you're going to get really suboptimal results. So since we all want optimal results, I'm going to say we're going to do it over and over again until we get it perfect. Then we're going to automate it. So this is how he lays out the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're going to promote the daylights out of that registration page to get people onto the live webinar. On Thursday, you're going to actually do the live webinar. They've done studies and tests, and they found that Wednesdays and Thursdays are actually the best days for their type webinar. And I'm going to say their type webinar because they're selling to entrepreneurs and business people or wannabe entrepreneurs. Actually, they target more startup people than, now he's targeting more successful people as he's growing and developing his business. But in the beginning, he was targeting more beginning entrepreneurs and startup people. But now he's moved to business owners, and that is the perfect time for business owners. That's what they've tested and found. Now, that might not be the best time for you. In different markets and different niches that I've worked in, I've found that that time does not work at all. Busy moms might not be available at 7 o'clock on Thursday night. Restaurant and bar owners are not available at 7 o'clock at night any day of the week, much less on Thursday. So it totally depends on your market. You're going to have to figure that out for you and test that. And you can do that by asking the audience that you've been building. And then Fridays is the replay. Saturdays and Sundays is all about building urgency and scarcity. And then on Sunday, we're going to close the cart. Now, again, this is just a framework. Those days of the week don't have to be exactly how you do yours, depending on what works for your market. If Monday is the best day for you to deliver your webinar based on your target audience, then you're going to just alter this to meet that. So you would be promoting Friday, Saturday, Sunday, delivering on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, you would be building your urgency and scarcity and closing the cart on Wednesday or something like that. So that's the overall model of what we're going to do. So on Monday, or on the first day, let's say day one. On day one, step one is going to be to send traffic. My bad, I accidentally hit snooze, didn't use my magnifying glass, instead of dismiss. Sorry, double beeps during the webinar. Fail, not real fail, just little mistakes. Technology, sometimes a challenge for all of us. So the first thing you're going to do is send traffic to your webinar registration page. You're going to do that. That's the first step. So that's, remember we said Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So day 1, 2, and 3 is all about sending traffic to that webinar registration page. That's a page in your funnel, the first page in your funnel, to get people to come to your webinar live. And there's a couple key things that Russell says you got to do on this registration page. And I agree 100% with him based on not having done all of them perfectly in the beginning. The first thing is he has a picture that makes no sense. It's interesting and it's attention catching, but it doesn't make any sense and it doesn't give away what you're going to be sharing on your webinar or your web class. The second thing is his headline always builds a ton of curiosity. It's all about building curiosity and piquing people's interest to get them to say, I don't know what this is, but it sounds interesting. It sounds like it's going to solve my main problem. I got to be on that live so I know what's going on. And the third thing it does is it builds urgency and scarcity. There's usually, actually not usually, there's always a countdown timer on it. A countdown timer to the live webinar date. Always has one of those on. So, interesting picture that piques attention and stops people in their tracks so they want to read the headline. Headline has got to be curiosity based, and you have to build a sense of urgency and scarcity so that they want to be on that webinar live. Step 2 is all about sending registrants to a thank you page that also has a self-liquidating offer. So what he'll put on his offer is he always puts on a free trial to ClickFunnels, which makes sense because really all of his webinars are all about selling the software ClickFunnels. So what kind of a self-liquidating offer could you put on your thank you page? Now, on several of my thank you pages, what I've done is I will put the most burning question. I will put a quick little survey. I will put a contest. Say, hey, enter to win your chance to get X, Y, or Z. Or I will put something, but I always put something on my registration page, my thank you page, not my registration page, my thank you page. So after they register, they go to the thank you page. On the thank you page, I always put something. Now I have to get better at putting offers that generate income, but I make sure that I always have, at a very minimum, hey, join my Facebook group, comment on my Facebook group or my Facebook page. That's the bare minimum I put on a thank you page. But I recommend that you use this, especially if you're just getting started out, as a way to generate more information for you in building your course and tweaking your course by asking people what their most urgent question is. Then, and I guess why Russell puts in his self-liquidating offers, the 2-week free trial to ClickFunnels. And he encourages everybody to create a free account, which totally makes sense with what he's doing. If you've got something like that, if you've got a software, I would totally be putting a 14-day free trial on mine. I'm going to have to develop software. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to come up with something. We are working on a mobile app. Step 3 is to send a series of indoctrination emails. Remember I said we would do indoctrination emails? I do 3 because I want them to coincide with secret 1, secret 2, and secret 3 to build curiosity. I just do a short, probably 30 seconds or less video, again, with the the secret. I always restate the secret because I'm sharing that over and over and over again. And if I've done my job right, and if I've tapped into their most urgent false beliefs in each of those key areas of vehicle, internal, and external, then build curiosity. And all these videos are about, they're not about telling a huge, big epiphany story. They are about getting people on that webinar so that they can hear your epiphany story about that secret. So we do a series of those. Then step 4 is to send reminders. We need to remind people to show up to the webinars. So a day before, an hour before, usually 15 minutes before the webinar, I send reminder emails, and I can automate that entire process, the indoctrination emails and all of my webinar registration reminder emails. I can automate all of that, or we can automate all of that. Step 5 is to present the webinar. Present the webinar live, and here it says it should be 90 minutes long. I'm working hard to get my webinars down to 90 minutes. Some of mine are 2.5 hours, which is, depending on your market, depending on how exciting your stories and what you're sharing with and how helpful it is to the people. If people are really interested in what you've got and they know it can help them, they'll stay on for a 2.5 hour webinar. However, not many people will. We're busy. Everybody's busy. Nobody's got 2.5 hours to spend on my webinar unless they really have a problem that's so urgent they know they need to fix it. So I'm working, just like the rest of us, to get down to 90 minutes. The first 60 minutes are your indoctrination stories and the 3 secrets. And the last half hour is actually the stack and answering questions. Again, he says the best time of day for your webinar depends on your market. So true. A lot of people have 9-to-5 jobs, so that's why he does the nighttime ones, because he knows that people go to their jobs, but there are also a lot of them interested in doing something on the side or starting something else that might be able to get them out of their 9-to-5 jobs. And he talks about the software. He uses GoToWebinar. I think that actually they're using Zoom, and I know they're using Zoom. I don't know that they're using GoToWebinar anymore. They might be using Zoom exclusively, or they might be doing it simultaneously, but I know that in the last year, I think that they've been almost exclusively using Zoom for their webinars. And a lot of us use Zoom. I'm actually experimenting and playing with Facebook Live because where I live, I have technological challenges. And so sometimes I could never get GoToWebinar or, what's the one I had? I had a different one. It wasn't GoToWebinar. Webinar Jam. I could never get it to work where I live. So I tried Zoom, and I can do Zoom, but I can't necessarily do Zoom and then live stream. So I've been actually experimenting with Facebook Live and Be Live to do some of mine. There's advantages and disadvantages to that. The quality of the camera on my computer is terrible. It's an older computer, and I need to update that. But for right now, it works fine. We're actually doing a new webinar tomorrow, and so we'll see how that works. We're going to do it over Facebook Live, but I'll probably do Be Live and then pull in the person because it's not my webinar. It's someone else's webinar, but I'm going to go through it with them and be on live with them to help them get confidence in delivering it and practicing. And so we're going to do that tomorrow. But I'm using, I think I'm going to use, I haven't been able to get just Facebook Live with screen share and a guest to work for me technologically where I live, but I'm sure it will work soon. I'll figure it out soon, but right now I will either do Zoom or I will do Be Live are the 2 things that I use right now. Step 6 then is to send follow-up messages, follow-up emails, and to create last-minute urgency. And you can do that in several ways, but you want to get them to, especially if they weren't on the call, hey, you guys need to watch this replay. You need to get this. You know, these bonuses are gone because you weren't on the call live, but now these other bonuses are going away in X amount of time. And I love taking things away, especially bonuses, because I can always change bonuses. So I like taking things away over the next couple of days in order to encourage people to act now. People need a reason to act. People love to buy, but they need a reason to act now. If they're going to lose something by not buying now, they're more likely to buy now. Otherwise, everyone will wait till the very last minute, right before the cart closes. And step 7, it's important, it's urgent that we close the cart every single Sunday so that people know that I'm not kidding when I say the cart's going to close. It's going to close. And we close the cart, and then we repeat this entire process the next week. But what I like to do is, like I said, change up my bonuses so that I really am creating a different offer every week for people, so that they don't think that it's just, oh, it's this fake urgency and it's not real. And if you don't close your cart, then you're lying, and it is fake urgency. So I always close my cart, and then I change my bonuses up for the next week. That's how I do it. It's up to you to decide how you want to do it and what works for you and your business. So that's just a brief overview of the funnel, the perfect webinar model. Go ahead, read the chapter. I'll come up with an action sheet that will help walk you through this material, and then we just have to do it step by step, one piece at a time, putting them all together, and then getting it up and running, and make sure it's all operating, all the little moving pieces, you know, dot the I's, cross the T's, and make sure that it's operating. And then the only way to know for sure if it's working and if the model and the process is working is to actually do it. You actually have to do the webinar, go through it, and I can pretty much guarantee your first time through, something's going to go wrong. Something is going to break, something is going to go wrong, but the better job we do preparing and making sure that we consider everything we can possibly consider in the beginning, the better it's going to go. And, you know, there's going to be, and anything is possible. You know, not lots of people, but there's a few people that do their perfect webinar the first time, and it's awesome right out of the gate. The vast majority of people, I would say 95% of people, the first time they do their webinar, it bombs. I mean, bombs, like crickets. Nobody shows up. Nobody participates, and nobody buys. And if that happens to you, that's okay. That's just practice. So the next time you deliver it, you'll say, okay, I need to do a better job getting it in front of the right people so that we get more registrants. And then maybe you realize, oh my gosh, I told them the answer in my headline. If I tell them the answer in my headline, they're not going to show up because they're not curious. They think they already know the answer. If they can guess the answer from your headline to their problem, or the solution to their problem, they're not going to show up because they'll say in their minds, oh, I already know that. I don't need to show up. You know, Sharon doesn't have anything new to show me or teach me. Therefore, I don't need to show up for this webinar. I will spend my time watching the news or sipping Mai Tais or coffee on the beach, whatever it is. But you'll find those tweaks and those things that need to be adjusted to have it perform better and better every time you do it. So I just want to encourage you to not be discouraged if it flops totally the first time. I would be surprised. I would be so delighted if it didn't, but don't set yourself up for frustration and sadness and disappointment if it doesn't go smashingly and you don't make $1 million the first time you deliver your webinar. No one has ever done that, just so you know. All right, that's it. Go out, get hopping on this chapter. It is, you know, they're all a biggie. I say that every time because they're all a big deal. They're all a big deal for this process. But if you master the process, if you master the things in this book, you cannot fail. You just have to keep trying until you find what works for the people that you want to talk to. And it's a success model. This is a mapped out success model for each and every person that wants to be an expert in their field, including you. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. It was echoey, but I don't care. All right.